really glad that many of you stay till the beginning of this session. So we are going to discuss the societal resilience in the era of confrontation. And to do so, I invite Magnus Hjorth, Director General of Swedish Psychological Defense Agency, Taras Shevchenko, who served as a Deputy Minister of Culture and Information Policy on European integration in Ukraine from 2022 to 2024, David Smolak, Chairperson of Senate Commission on Media Senate of Czechia, and Helena Quiz, Project Manager from Bertelsmann Stiftung Europe program. Yeah, I also have a chair. So unfortunately, Magnus has to leave earlier because he has a plane, and you know, time is really merciless. So we will start from you, Magnus, and probably you will give us some hints, because it is clear that one of the probably most dangerous weapons that Russians have, it leads, you know, to, I would call it like mental disarmament. So West has plenty of weapons and plenty of tools and plenty of instruments, and we heard about like probably, I don't know, dozens of different initiatives and ideas how to strengthen our security, but we are still, you know, not so far from 2022 in terms of readiness. So what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, thank you so much to Aspen for inviting me to this conference. It's been great hearing all these insightful comments and speeches today. I'm Director General for the Swedish Psychological Defense Agency, and first of all, I should probably say a few things about what we do. We have basically two remits from the Swedish government. The first is to monitor, identify, and analyze what foreign entities are doing towards Sweden or Swedish interest in the information domain. So we do threat assessments that we share with the Swedish government and other stakeholders. But also we build long-term resilience, or we try to contribute to long-term resilience in the information domain. And this is something I feel is very important today, because as was mentioned earlier this morning, it was mentioned, called a cognitive war. Many times I say it's an information war that Russia is waging upon us and has been doing for quite a while now, at least 10, 15 years, definitely. Russia said this is an information war, and we didn't understand that. The concept wasn't in us, really. We were criticizing Russia for what they were doing in Georgia, and they were thinking, oh, this is an information war that we are going to win. And they have been doing this ever since. And I think, first of all, we need to accept that this is an information war. We talk a lot about FIMI in Europe, foreign information manipulation and interference, and that is fine. But this is something more than just manipulation and interference. This is an information warfare that is waged upon us very strategically and very systematically, and using huge resources, actually. And they are penetrating our democracies, weakening our democracies, and they will continue if we do not stop them. So, over to the resilience side. What we are doing in Sweden is that we are performing exercises, training courses all over the country. We are training local officials, regional government, and as well as national agencies. We have we try to have outreach to civil society and to the whole population, really. We have a whole of society concept. We have something to reach the young. We have formed a youth resilience hub, engaging quite a few youth organizations, engaging with them, discussing how the modern information landscape looks like, and how foreign threat actors like Russia is trying to crush our democracies really, because that's what they are doing. We also try to reach the elderly. We have funded films on election interference for elderly, or also instruction films, how social media works. Media literacy, contributing to that, is a great part of what we do. You could almost say that media literacy and psychological defense are very much related, because we are trying to inform society on how modern social media works, how algorithms work, and how authoritarian regimes are using those to their advantage, to make our societies unstable. We also try building trust, of course, because trust is absolutely crucial. And that is, of course, nothing that we can do alone. Trust is something that we need to work on as a society. All of us needs to try to safeguard trust and try to build trust. By, for instance, fighting corruption, which is absolutely devastating to trust. So trust is something that we need to create resilience and to preserve it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Taras, you happened to become a Deputy Minister of Culture and Information Policy, like exactly when war, full-scale invasion began in Ukraine. And of course you were kind of, it is very interesting to hear your perspective as a citizen, as a, as a Kievian who lives in Kyiv that time, and also as one of the highest officials who hold a very important position at that time. So what are your kind of takeaways from that history of our country and your personal history? What would you like to share in terms of, cognitive war and mental disarmament and all that things and countermeasures that you have taken part in?
Thank you, Denis. Hi, everyone. It's a big honor to be here on this event and speak about a very important topic. Just a little bit about timing. I became Deputy Minister in summer 2020. In 2022, my title was changed a little bit to the Deputy for European Integration, so my name tag concludes 22, but in reality it was 2 years earlier. And it's important because we started our preparation in 2020. In 2021, we've established institution, Center for Informational Security. Center of Strategic Communication and Informational Security. That's our analogy of the Swedish center that we've heard about, and we cooperate a lot. And the first document that was produced was a brochure, what you should do in case of war. And we also took an example, the Swedish document, which was adopted, and it was when it was presented in summer 2021, the presentation was not that popular, but when information about possible attack of Russia started circulating end of 2021 and January, February, these documents immediately started being circulated. Everyone was reading, commenting. Frankly speaking, we even received unofficial calls asking you are circulating this brochure, probably you're leading to panic. And I said, actually, we are not circulating it. It was created half a year ago, and now it's self-circulation because people are aware about danger and they want to find some data, what they should do. So the institution creation is very important. And we have another institution, the National Project Filter. It's the lead project in media literacy. I agree that media literacy is very important. But generally, a few more components that I'd like to add. First, that work should be definitely done inside and outside, and it's absolutely different communication work and different ideas.
You mean inside of what?
I mean inside the country and outside the country.
Okay.
Inside the country, the two different strategies. One is about disseminating data, disseminating information, what government can provide, what other parties can provide. And in this regard, there is, because of war, there is huge demand for cultural products we were speaking about. To buy the tickets to theater, it's nearly impossible because there is huge demand. There is new groups appearing. There is the movie Mavka, the song of the forest, became the most viewed movie in the cinema in time of war with all the limitations, with the biggest number of cash flow and tickets sold. So the demand is big, there should be supply, sometimes from the government, sometimes it's pretty private. But also, we definitely need, and it's not only us, but I believe other governments as well, deal with limitations. Yes, we are democracies. Yes, most of us support liberal democratic values. At the same time, before joining ministry, for many years I was media lawyer, the person who was dealing with freedom of expression first of all. And we know about balancing and how the balance, you should shift it now a little bit, because we see the crisis of democracy, we see the crisis of liberal democracy. And that's the time to rethink. We know that there are vulnerabilities, and the answer should not be autocracy or total bans. Even in time of war, we have one of the most open legislation in terms of access to public information. It's still pretty protected, but the balance should shift. There should be limitations. We banned Russian social media in 2017. We had some negative reaction from international organizations at that moment, but I believe that was very important and proper movement. And there should be limitations. We know experience of Romania with elections. We are even now observing what is happening in Moldova, where elections are happening very soon. Russia is using freedom of expression. Russia is using its culture. And speaking about culture, and my last message, in time of war, we are sure that Russian culture should be on post. It's not about complete prohibition forever of Russian music or Russian theater, but not in time of war, not in time of aggression. It's absolutely not appropriate to provide Russia with possibility to use their masses for their soft power spreading even in European Union. So that's why Ukraine is always stating that there should be no Russian exhibitions, movies, cultural plays in time of aggression. Thank you.
Thank you. David, what is your, you're kind of legislator, and so what is your view on, let's say, information space, on media, how this should be or should not be regulated, normalized, prohibited some of them or not? So how you made this decision, you and your colleagues, of course?
Thank you for the floor, and good afternoon, everybody. Well, I spent whole my professional life in media, both private media and public media, and I must say that there is a huge change during last 10 years. Our media environment has completely changed, completely. According to data of Reuters Digital, now majority of people consume news and informations from online. That means majority of people consume something which is adjusted by algorithms, and all of us have our own shape of the world in our phones. No wonder the society is divided and we cannot find the same view of reality, and it's a global problem. We have 4 decades there is a dual media system in Europe. That means on one hand there are media which attract our interest, and on the other hand media which provide some public service. And now we can see that there is an overwhelming majority of media which only attract our interest. And how they do it? They need to excite our emotions by fears and furies, and there is an overwhelming majority of this content in this environment. So we definitely need to strengthen our public media, because they should spread only verified informations, and these are some islands of reality in this sea of disinformation. What is our role of legislators, of course, is to keep some common rules for media. We can see that there are a lot of legislation around traditional media, media boards, codexes, a lot of legislation about that, but there is a lack legislation about digital media. We have only DSA, Digital Service Act, and Digital Market Act. Then it came to affect AI Act, which is very important when we can see how unbelievably quick is development of AI platforms, of big language models, of generative AI at all. So we need to keep this legislation, and we can see there is a strong press from US to refuse it, but we don't miss it, because we lost plurality in this environment, and we can see there is a monopoly of so-called Big Five in this media environment, and we need to create some our alternative in this media environment, some European social site language model. We need to build some data centers, because in every these issues there is a monopoly of USA, and we are totally dependent on it. And dependence is never very well. Okay.
Thank you. Magnus, I know that you have to go now, so can you give us just one thing that we all should remember to, to remain resilient in Europe?
We need to work together. We need to support each other. We need to learn from each other. We do a lot of work in Ukraine, trying to support various organizations, both government agencies and civil society. And we also learn a lot from what we do in Ukraine. That is so helpful for us. And I really hope that we are contributing to your war effort, because we really need to step up our game in Europe. We need to work harder. We need to think more strategic, and we need to do this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and have a good trip. Yeah. Helena, what is your perspective on resilience? Because through your work, you are dealing with, let's say, multiple issues of different kind, as far as I understand, in policy making and kind of policy negotiation and so on, and probably also, have an eye on that kind of processes that started in 2022, and there is some kind of trend till now. What is your perspective on that?
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much also from my side for having me on this very high-level panel, and to the organizers, of course. So I'm a researcher in a Berlin-based think tank. So, of course, my perspective is always a bit German-influenced. At the same time, I'm trying to look at the European bigger picture. So my focus area is total defense, and especially the side of civil preparedness. The topic more or less came to me by chance, to be honest, but I completely fell in love with its complexity. It is such a broad topic, but so important at the same time. We decided to bring it to our portfolio, actually for a quite sad reason, which was that no one else in Germany, any think tank, is doing this, and this is due to a lack of funding. It's not a topic of interest in Germany, different to Sweden. That is very well funded. We're self-funded, so we took over this responsibility, and I'm very glad to have it on my shoulders. Well, I would say the fact that I'm still across Europe one of the very few researchers focusing on this topic at all, kind of, I think shows one thing that we might have all seen also after summarizing today's panels, which is where's the society in all of this? I very much valued the previous panels a lot, but I think defense is very much a societal project. So since 2022, as I'm looking into other European countries as well, if you look at the strategic documents of European states, you will find a lot of the words comprehensive defense, comprehensive security, societal defense, whole of society. We already heard it on the panel here today. However, the society part is so far very much underprepared, unmotivated, or unconvinced. And if we look at the numbers, like barely or roughly around 1 in 3 Europeans say that they would actually fight for their country, and the willingness is lowest among the youth. And at the same time, we see a majority of Europeans who do not feel prepared. They do not know how to react in crisis or disaster. And these are not marginal attitudes, these are real constraints if we're talking about nowadays defense as we also see it in Ukraine. So I think most of the time I feel I have to reiterate on why societal buy-in into defense matters so much. We see it in Ukraine. Just imagine how the Russian aggression would go without the societal backing of Ukraine population, without the societal resilience in Ukraine population. I think we would see a very different picture today. Unfortunately, this will not convince any capital in Europe at the moment. We still have a lot of people who think war in Ukraine is something distant, this war will not come to their own countries, they will not be in the same situation. And overall, for politicians, leaders, it's still a very uncomfortable topic to talk about. So if they can, they just avoid it. However, if we look at European, like EU member states, for example, reality today, when we look at gray zone attacks, it becomes very clear that the topic of societal resilience, societal defense, the backing from society, the buy-in from society is something crucial that we need for deterrence. Because how do you deter? Do we deter by punishment in case of gray zone attacks? I don't think so. I don't see it in the closer future that any European country will do that. So we need to have deterrence by denial, simply because when we're talking about, and this is a topic that came up often today, critical infrastructure, energy supply to the people, things that really like attack the vital functions of our societies. We do need the society to be resilient, to bounce back after such a disruption, because we can simply not protect 100% of all of our critical infrastructure. This is something super unrealistic. And for that, you know, budgets are not everything. It is a mindset question. And I know mindset question is kind of like a buzzword nowadays, and the crucial question is, how do we get there? It's a painful process, unfortunately. It's a long process. And again, as someone looking at different European countries, I also have to break it to you, there's no one-size-fits-all European solution to that. Societies are very different. They have very different historical backgrounds. They have very different cultures in some parts. So coming from a German perspective, I can only point to 3 obvious key elements that I think might also apply to other countries, which is the public really needs to recognize the threat, to realize the threat, and grasp its implications for our convenient lives that we all love in Europe. And that's also something that leaders and politicians should do better. And I'm really having Germany, especially here, very strongly in mind. But then the third thing is as crucial. The population needs to feel a sense of agency in confronting it. Because if you're just bringing awareness to the threat without giving the population agency, that will create panic. Because people will not know what to do and feel left alone. And one final point before I stop my monologue is society cannot create that mindset shift alone. It is also the responsibility of European leaders. It is the responsibility of state institutions to foster it, to promote it, to make a compelling case for preparedness and defense. That is not an easy task, but leaders should start understanding defense not only as weapons, missiles, industry, again, all important, but also as a comprehensive societal project, because without the people, there's nothing to defend and there's no capabilities to defend us.
No one will basically go to defend something. Yeah, I would dare probably to change a bit this picture that was presented by Mr. Joanna in the morning, you know, when he said that there is a technology and economy and military and society. I would put society in the center. Because basically everything else is growing, you know, from the society. And if society is not ready, we can impose whatever technology, it will not work, you know. We witnessed this in Ukraine, for example. So unfortunately, we have just a couple of minutes left. So if there are any questions. Yes.
Hi to everyone. Thank you a lot for the speech. I just want to understand if you have an opinion about that, because we speak a lot about defend and misinformation, but mostly maybe for the Ukrainian field is easier to answer to this question. But what do you think about an offensive approach to the misinformation? So giving back to them, not in a real way, but I mean to think about not only influence inside of us, but also try to influence the people of the other countries that try all the day and all the hour to come in Europe and make misinformation and confusing us. Thanks, if you want to say something.
Yeah, the time slot for speaking was very tiny, so of course I didn't mention everything. And what you're asking, for example, our response was to create the media that was focused on Russian auditory. The title is Freedom, and that still exists in media that works, that do in both social media and television in Russian language. And there were some like debates. Is it proper way, non-proper way? And I personally would say that there was a word that I like very much, mindset, that people are divided into warriors mindset and victims mindset. I would say that most of Ukrainians that fled Ukraine, they have victims mindset, and most that stayed in Ukraine, they have warriors mindset. And the reaction was also different about creating the Russian language media. The warriors were saying, good job, let's try to win auditories there. The victims said, no, you probably want Russian language be back in Ukraine. You probably want to communicate with Ukrainians with this Russian language media. So debates were there, but the government position was, yes, we need to, this is kind of the public way. There are also some non-public way of creating Telegram channels, other medias, like fighting an information front line there on Russian territory. So yes, of course, I believe this is important.
Just to add a few words to that, a lot of, let's say, informal media appeared, like internet channels, you know, who started to create a lot of Russian language content, like aiming at ridiculing some Russian traits or characters or, you know, so on and so forth. So it was a kind of national movement to a certain extent, and it still continues. Any other questions, colleagues? Yeah.
Thanks very much. That was fascinating. I'm from the British Embassy, covering this issue among many others here. Similar to the last question, how disrupt seems to be quite a big buzzword, at least in the UK, in terms of kind of counter-FEME conversations. Like, how realistic do you think it is that we can do more as governments to kind of disrupt the people spreading these narratives, as well as just kind of informing the public and building our resilience?
Can you repeat your question, because it's just closer to, you know?
Sure. I'm asking about disrupting, like measures that governments can take to disrupt those spreading these narratives, as opposed to just building resilience amongst societies who are kind of being fed them.
If I understood correctly, and asking how government is distracting the Russian efforts to spread disinformation, I would say one of the most, the strategy that works pretty well is this. First of all, nearly the whole society is understanding that there is enemy who would like to spread disinformation. If something is identified as going from Russia, if it's through Russian channels, it's clearly from Russia. If it's not from Russian channels, but from other channels, Ukrainian channels possibly, then there is clear analysis describing that these narratives are absolutely the same as those communicated by Russian official channels. Once these affiliated with messages from Russia, people are not believing it. They don't believe, they distrust. So that's one of the effective methods.
Yeah, it was to the extent that certain, let's say, news or articles were marked by special agencies that this is kind of disinformation or whatever other. Do you have something like that in Germany or in Czech Republic? Yeah.
Okay, I will just start. No, we don't have that in Germany. I just wanted to add one quick thing, because when I hear a question like that, like what can we do as a government, what can we do as a state, researching that area, you come across various examples. Unfortunately, the Swedish colleague is not here anymore, but there are countries like the Baltic states who are confronted with, for example, Russian disinformation. This is way longer than other countries, probably like the UK, have been. So I think what is crucial, we are already late to this information war. So now we need to catch up quickly, and we can do that by learning from each other. And learning from each other always sounds like a buzzword. However, if we foster this exchange on topics where every country is under similar or faces similar challenges, I think we can catch up way faster.
Mm-hmm. David?
If I can add one short remark. Experts say that disinformation works most effectively in case of people who are confused, are under stress from the world, which seems unexplainable, and if they are in stress, they are the disinformation can take a very serious effect to them. And if they get some very simple explanation of all these things, they will feel happy. And it will be very problematic if you try to persuade it that it's not true, because the stress will go again, and they will be angry with you because they was happy, and you try to stress them again. So it's a psychological problem, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, unfortunately we are kind of at the end of our story, which should be continued. I do believe in this seriously. So very brief closing remarks, like under 30 seconds. So what is your one advice to all of the Europeans in that context?
My one advice has 5 points, but in one phrase. You should have institution in place, like we have in Ukraine, like Sweden. Strategy as a strategic document. We have strategy on informational security, a legal document. Allocate resources, money, that's important. International cooperation, which was mentioned. And finally, cooperation and coordination with NGOs, think tanks, academia, which in case of Ukraine is also very, very strong in these institutions. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Advice for Europe. We must keep unity. We must keep unity, and we have to keep balance in our media environment, and keep the dual media system, because it's the only way how to deal with disinformation attack. So there are a lot of other measures, but in short way, this one.
Yeah, I'll also try to live with myself. by making three very, very fast points. I think the first one we need to learn in Europe is never to underestimate the power of a narrative. Defense is not a rational topic, it is an emotional topic, and you need to bring the people on board. When we look at, for example, firefighters, people working in civil protection, they're at the very center of their community. They feel a sense of belonging with what they do. So preparedness is so wide. Why don't meet people where they are in their lives and create social cohesion while also engaging preparedness and, in the end, resilience and defense? And I think the third point I want to make is make it worth to engage. Connect these topics of preparedness with social mobility, with actual giving back some credibility to the service these people do. I think that is very, very important also to do that in public and from high-level politicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. That brings me to the thought or idea that initially the Aspen Institute was called the Aspen Institute of Humanistic Studies. So the human being, the human nature was in the focus, and the idea was that leaders should kind of to be brought almost coercively in contact, with the human nature, and not with the, tables where investments and losses are written and recorded, and and how many units of this or that we have, but just to feel this humanity like themselves. And that idea is basically the core of any Aspen Institute activity. So I also would like to thank you to all our speakers and also to our colleagues from Romania and other Aspen Institutes for this marvelous forum. So I think that we will try to continue it forever.